Morning, all. Thank you for joining me today for our ninth episode of Saturday Morning Coffee. I'm Nolan, our lead writer and founder of Dime Novel Adventures. Today we'll be reviewing the April 2025 adventure Storm's Fury. If you're ready, I've got my coffee, so let's dive in. Tale of the Titan Masks, Storm's Fury, April 2025. The castle in the clouds has fallen, and a storm is beset upon Arvest as a powerful foe arrives in this adventure for your favorite role-playing game. Storm's Fury, a level 17 to 19 adventure. In this adventure, the tale of the Titan Masks will come to a close with the arrival of Shadow Lord Jotun. Rush towards the center of Arvest to defeat the Shadow and save the island. Written by Flame Reptile. Edited by The One True AZ. Art by Flame Reptile. Disclaimer. Where are we dropping, boys? Special thanks to Dawn of Dune, The One True AZ, Flame Reptile, Portal Ripper, The Silent Cartographer, Garlic Man, and The Angry Ginger. In continuation, this adventure is one in a series of adventures, the Tales of the Titan Masks. In previous adventures within the series, the party has been in close contact with the High Guildmaster, whom had provided the party with the necessary charm seals for imprisoning the Shadow Generals. If your party has not played through these previous adventures, or have run out of charm seals, it is reasonable that the High Guildmaster has sent additional charm seals to the party, or they have discovered a way to reproduce the charm seals. A nation reuniting. In the previous adventure, Court of Clouds, the actions of the party have drawn numerous survivors into their employ as a continued rebellion. Quantity of survivors. The total number of survivors freed from Shadow General Eldjortnar were equal to 2d4 times 1000 plus 1d10 times 100 plus 1d100. Example, the value rolled upon the 2d4 was 4. The value rolled upon the 1d10 was 0. The value rolled upon the 1d100 was 89. The total number of survivors is 4,089 survivors. Those that follow. After determining the number of survivors, one party member rolls a charisma persuasion check with advantage, multiplying the result of the persuasion check by 5 to a maximum of 100. This was the percentage of survivors that joined the party. Example, a party member, a joyous bard, rolled a 13 and 17 on their persuasion check. 17 times 5 is 85, divided by 100 is 85%. 85% times 4,089 is 3,475. 3,475 survivors gladly joined the party to form a rebellion. Leaders of the rebellion. Empowered by the numerous rebels cheering at their backs, the party is inspired to complete their tasks, regardless of the latent dangers. Depending on the number of rebels backing their efforts, the party gains the following benefits during this adventure. See the Rebellion Benefits table. The Storm's Fury. Half a day ago, the party toppled Shadow General Gigante's castle in the sky, causing it to plummet down into the center of the island of Arvest. Upon impact, the island shuddered as its center collapsed inwards into a massive pit. A team of scouts was sent to investigate the pit, under suspicions of something within being the target of the Shadow Generals that have recently plagued Arvest. But contact with the team was lost after the arrival of Jotun, Lord of the Vegvasir. Following Jotun's arrival, an unusual storm surrounded Arvest and began closing in. Ships and citizens alike have attempted to sail through the storm, but it was quickly discovered that ships and creatures that entered the storm were bombarded by bolts of lightning and torched from the storm's hidden flames. As the storm closes in, the party must take action to stop the advancing storm and to protect the recently freed citizens of Arvest. With Arvest's future in the hands of the party, read or paraphrase the following. Half a day ago, your party toppled Shadow General Gigante's castle in the sky, causing it to plummet down into the center of the island of Arvest. Upon impact, the island shuddered as its center collapsed inwards into a massive pit. Your party directed a team of scouts to investigate the pit, suspicious that something within may have been the reason for the Shadow General's presence within Arvest, but contact with the team was lost upon shortly after their departure. An unnatural storm has appeared surrounding Arvest, growing inward towards its center with each passing hour. Some say they spotted a giant creature flying above the center of the island, conjuring the storm from beyond. Regardless of its origins, it has been discovered by several unfortunate souls that escape is impossible. Those who enter the fog of the storm are set alight and targeted by bolts of lightning. Estimated to be growing inwards at a rate of 2 miles per hour, the storm is estimated to reach the city of Arvest in a mere 3 hours, and to completely overtake it in 4. Your party must decide how best to stop the storm and save the people of Arvest. Jotun's Storm. Jotun's Storm is an unnatural fog that encircles Arvest. This dense, opaque fog advances inwards towards the center of Arvest at a rate of 2 miles per hour. Creatures, objects, and structures that enter are overtaken by Jotun's Storm. Jotun's Storm deals 64 10d4 fire damage at the beginning of each of its turns from the Inferno hidden within. At the end of each of its turns, a creature within Jotun's Storm must succeed on a DC 18 dexterity saving throw, or take 64 10d10 lightning damage, or half as much on a success, from the continuous volley of lightning bolts that strike within the storm. Arvest in peril. After 3 hours, Jotun's Storm will reach the city of Arvest, and after 4, 1 additional hours, it will take the city of Arvest. Any creature within Arvest, when this occurs, will perish. If the party has not instructed their rebel forces to evacuate, the rebellion will be destroyed. Each player may roll 1d10, adding the results of all players' rolls together. The total of these rolls will represent the total number of survivors that were not within Arvest. Saving Arvest. When the adventure begins, the party can choose to instruct the citizens of Arvest to evacuate. If they do, one party member may roll a charisma persuasion check with advantage, multiplying the result of the persuasion check by 5 to a maximum of 100. This total will represent the total percentage of rebels that will evacuate Arvest upon the party's command. Example. Party member, a joyous bard, rolled a 13 and a 17 on the persuasion check. 17 times 5 is 85, divided by 100 equals 85%. There are 6,413 survivors within the rebellion. 85% of 6,413 is 5,451. 5,451 rebels will flee Arvest on the party's command. Note, if the party defeats Jotun, Lord of the Vignettes, before Jotun's Storm reaches Arvest, it is assumed that no survivors will perish. Into the breach. The party must travel 12 miles to the center of Arvest, towards the center of the crater, to confront Jotun, Lord of the Vignettes. If the party leaves immediately, traveling at a moderate pace, 4 miles per hour, they can reach Jotun before Jotun's Storm overtakes the city of Arvest. Due to their recent engagements across Arvest with previous Shadow Generals, the first 9 miles of the party's travel will be safe and uneventful. However, as the party approaches the center of the island, they will encounter a dense fog that surrounds the island center. Once the party approaches this fog, read or paraphrase the following. Your last 9 miles of travel from the city of Arvest inland towards the center has been relatively safe and uneventful, likely due to your prior dealings with the previous Shadow Generals. However, as you approach the center of the island, the previously clear path inwards appears to be obscured with a dense, opaque fog. The fog appears to extend from the ground upwards for nearly 60 feet. How do you choose to proceed? Once the party has entered the fog, they will hear a voice call out to them, challenging them to find it within the island center. Read or paraphrase the following. As you enter the dense, opaque fog, an elderly voice calls out to you from within. I see you have raced here to save your island. That is commendable. Come, adventurers, find me through the fog. Find the Lord of the Vegvasir, Jotun, before the storm overtakes you. The voice trails off as it begins to laugh, deep within the fog that obscures the island center. A fog you can get lost in. The party must traverse through 3 miles of dense fog to reach the center of the island. The dense fog stretches from the ground upwards for 60 feet, is opaque, and causes creatures and objects within to become heavily obscured. Creatures that enter the fog immediately become disoriented and begin to lose their sense of direction. For each mile traversed within the fog, a creature must succeed on a DC 18 Wisdom saving throw or become lost. A creature that becomes lost must roll 1d8 on the table below to determine in which random direction they traveled during their mile of travel. Reference the map Harvest in Peril for the direction in which a character may travel. This adventure features a fully detailed map of the island of Harvest. Note 1. A character with the Keen Mind feat or any other ability that grants an innate sense of direction is unhindered by the lost sense direction caused by the fog. Note 2. If the party chooses to connect themselves together via adhesive, rope, or other means, they may choose to roll once with advantage instead. Note 3. If the party chooses to fly above the fog, they may circumvent the tribulations of navigation altogether. The last mile. During the last mile of travel through the dense fog, the composition of the ground begins to change as it freezes over. The crater within the center of the island has been frozen over by Jotun to protect its contents from invaders. Once the party reaches this last mile, read or paraphrase the following. As you approach the last mile of your journey through the dense fog, the air becomes cold and the ground beneath your feet begins to crunch. You reach down and feel the grass is cold and wet. You continue onwards towards the center of the island, and, before long, the ground becomes slick with ice. Alas, you continue forward, and the fog begins to break. Jotun's Rest. As the fog breaks and the party enters the proverbial eye of the storm, they will enter into an icy clearing that seals the recently created crater of Harvest. Standing within the center of this icy clearing is an old, worn giant with gray skin and long white hair that melds perfectly with its long white beard. Jotun, Lord of the Vegvasir, will greet the party and congratulate them on reaching him in the center of the island. He will explain what he is doing and why. Then he will make an offer to the party. When the party enters Jotun's Rest, read or paraphrase the following. The dense fog breaks as you pass through into an icy clearing. You can see that the ice below seals the crater that was created by the plummeting castle in the sky. Kneeling in the center of this clearing is an old, worn giant. Ancient plate mail covers his gray skin, and long white hair melds seamlessly into his long white beard. His hands are held up as if holding an immense or heavy object above his head. As you enter the clearing, he raises his head and looks up at you. With a grandfatherly expression and grief in his eyes, the giant calls out to your party. Perhaps you are worthy after all. You have traveled far and a short time, all in hopes of saving your island and your people. I am Jotun, the lord and protector of the Vegvasir, and I have come to purge this island of its corruption. Jotun's offer. After introducing himself to the party, Jotun, Lord of the Vegvasir, will explain to the party his purpose here and offer a deal to the party. Read or paraphrase the following. Lord Jotun continues. Long ago, before the pieces of this plane were put back together, I created the Vegvasir to bind giant kind together in order to defeat an undefeatable foe, dragonkind. Once the battle was won, I created this island and hid the Vegvasir away so that no one could find it. Although my control over all of giant kind is absolute, my generals have found a way to rebel. They came here with a newfound power, to unearth the Vegvasir and to shatter it. This would free giant kind from their bonds and the rules set upon them. I cannot allow that to happen. The people of this island have felt the corruption of my faithless generals, and thus must be destroyed with the island. But it seems that you have not, having proven yourselves powerful. Join me, after I have ridden the plain of your island, and become my new generals. Defend the Vegvasir from this menace that would seek to destroy it. Should you refuse me, you must flee this place, for I will have no choice but to slay you. Option 1. Defending the Vegvasir. If the party chooses to join forces with Jotun, Lord of the Vegvasir, Jotun will continue its destruction of Arvest, collecting the Vegvasir from within the crater, and the party, before the destruction is complete. He will take the Vegvasir and the party to a distant sea, where he will create a new island, burying the Vegvasir within. Jotun will then appoint the party as the regents and defenders of the island, binding them to the will of the Vegvasir. Read or paraphrase the following. After careful deliberation, your party agrees to join Lord Jotun, submitting to his will and allowing him to finish his destruction of Arvest. Your party stands by and listens to the screams as thousands of lives are lost, and the island is destroyed. Before the completion of its destruction, Lord Jotun raises your party and an octahedral mass from within the dying island, high into the sky, and departs. Over several days, Lord Jotun constructs a new island within the distant sea, hiding the octahedral mass deep within its core. He appoints your party as regents and protectors over this island, called Harvest, binding your wills to that of the Vegvasir. Compelled to obey Lord Jotun, your party faithfully protects Harvest throughout its days, developing it into a prosperous nation. Option 2. Destroying the Vegvasir. After careful deliberation, your party declines Jotun's offer. He drops his hands, causing the storm that threatens the island to cease, and reaches out to grab his sword embedded within the ice behind him. Using it as a crutch, he hoists himself up, cracking his joints as he does. His sword flares to life in a lightning-wreathed frenzy as Jotun says, "Very well. None shall remember you but me in the coming age. I alone will bear the burden of defending the Vegvasir." Roll initiative. Jotun, Lord of the Vegvasir. Jotun, Lord of the Vegvasir, possesses but a fragment of his previous might, that which would be used to create the Vegvasir. Although a shadow of his old self, Jotun, Lord of the Vegvasir, Although a shadow of his old self, Jotun is still a match for any shadow general and can pose a serious threat to the player characters. Once the battle against Jotun, Lord of the Vegvasir, begins, Jotun will fly high above the battlefield and use his first action to cast Control Weather to make the weather stormy, heavy rain, and strong winds, and cause the temperature to drop to cold. Intelligent and battle-hardened, Jotun, Lord of the Vegvasir, will use his ability to fly, his flyby ability, and his lightning lance to maintain a safe distance from the party while still dealing significant damage. If engaged in melee combat, Jotun, Lord of the Vegvasir, will utilize his fists and lightning blade to crush and shock his foes. At a distance, while on the ground, Jotun can use his throw to grab and throw chunks of ice from the ground. If surrounded while on the ground, Jotun will use his thunderous stomp to deal an area of damage around him. Defeat. If the party is defeated by Jotun, Lord of the Vegvasir, see option 1, defending the Vegvasir. Jotun will destroy Arvest, taking the Vegvasir to a new location, where he will construct a new island, bury the artifact, and defend it until he has seen his final days. A foul deal. If Jotun, Lord of the Vegvasir, is reduced to 0 hit points, instead of dying, he will drop down to a knee. A nearly translucent sphere of energy will encircle Jotun, as if by the resilient spear spell. A voice will ring out over the battlefield, offering a bargain to Jotun, and a witch will appear, hanging over his shoulder. Jotun will accept the witch's bargain for power and transform into Shadow Lord Jotun. Read or paraphrase the following. As you deliver what should be the finishing blow to Jotun, Lord of the Vegvisir, he takes a knee, dropping his sword next to him. A nearly translucent sphere of energy surrounds him, raising him high above the ground. A wicked old voice echoes out over the field. Poor old Lord Jotun, abandoned and betrayed by his closest comrades, his treacherous generals, fallen from grace and felled by the weak, insignificant creatures. Within the sphere, hanging from Jotun's back across his shoulders, appears an old, decrepit witch. She continues, Dear Jotun, take a vestige of my power, regain your former glory, and stomp on these insects. Join me to protect that which you love most. Jotun raises his hand and reaches outwards, calling, Please, yes, help me, restore me to my former power. The witch responds, Very well, my lord, as she fades away into the blowing wind behind Jotun. Dark bolts of lightning strike down into the sphere as shadows begin to coalesce around Jotun. It stands tall, taking up its sword once again and peers down at you, tall, youthful, and angrily wreathed in shadow. Shadow Lord Jotun lets out a blood-curdling yell as the sphere shatters around you, and it charges forward. Roll initiative. A familiar witch. If the party or players has played through the dime novel adventures Zodiac series, the adventure Temple of the Hydra, they may recognize this witch. The Greatest Shadow. Although restored, rejuvenated, and empowered, Shadow Lord Jotun still possesses only a fraction of the power it once held when it created the Vegvisir. However, Shadow Lord is still a mighty foe that possesses a significant threat to the party. After the second phase of this battle begins, Shadow Lord Jotun will fly high into the sky and conjure a lightning strike, targeting the player characters with the least hit points. At a distance, Shadow Lord Jotun can throw its lightning lance and wind javelins to harass the party while in the air, or use its throw to grab and throw chunks of ice from the ground. In close combat, Shadow Lord Jotun can fling a flurry of fists, striking with its lightning blade or deal damage in an affected area around it with its thunderous stomp. A strong magical storm writhes around Shadow Lord Jotun, providing innate protection and dealing damage to all around it. With its fly-by ability and its storm's aura, Shadow Lord Jotun can deliver constant damage and escape from a scrum if needed. Once Shadow Lord Jotun is reduced to half its hit points, its thunderous stomp will recharge. It will fly towards the largest group of creatures using its thunderous stomp once in the center of the group. If a player character is reduced to 0 hit points, Shadow Lord Jotun will approach it and offer it the chance to join it as a Shadow Lord. If the player character accepts Shadow Lord Jotun's offer, it will convert the player character into a Shadow Lord. See Shadow Lord template. If the player character refuses, Shadow Lord Jotun will violently execute the character. Defeat. If the party fails to defeat Shadow Lord Jotun, the witch will return to Jotun and begin the next phase of her plan. Controlled by the witch, Jotun will begin to unearth the tomb of the Vegvisir as Jotun's storm sweeps across Arvest once again, immolating all upon the island as it sweeps across. Against its will, Shadow Lord Jotun will open the tomb for the witch, and the two will venture in to shatter the Vegvisir. Whether or not they are successful is a tale yet to be told. Shadow Lord Jotun. Shadow Lord Jotun stands as the pinnacle of Shadow Generals, holding the position of Lord of Shadow Generals. Jotun is quick, decisive, powerful, and ruthless. Shadow Lord Jotun is the Shadow General of the Shadow Lords, one of the 9 Shadow Legions. Jotun and its Shadow Lords appear as large blue-gray humanoids with white hair and chiseled faces. Jotun and the Shadow Lords will stand as powerful foes that meet their enemies head-on in battle with might and unbreakable fortitude. Jotun is the largest of all Shadow Lords. Jotun is surrounded by a stormy maelstrom, wielding the very lightning conjured forth by this storm. Jotun is fast, bulky, and capable of delivering a salvo of destructive blows to its foes. Due to its late conversion into the Shadow General, Jotun stands alone, but it wouldn't fight any other way, reducing Shadow Lord Jotun to 0 hit points. Once Shadow Lord Jotun has been reduced to 0 hit points, it will drop down to 1 knee, where its head will be low to the ground. A character with a charm seal would have an easy time attaching the seal to the giant's forehead. If Jotun is flying when this occurs, it will be caught by a puff of dense clouds, holding it in place until it recovers. Sealing Shadow Lord Jotun. Once the party has successfully reduced Shadow Lord Jotun to 0 hit points, and Shadow Lord Jotun has failed its saving throw against the charm seal, read or paraphrase the following. After it has taken a knee, you affix the charm seal to the forehead of the brought low Shadow Lord Jotun. It begins to surround itself with dense, black, shadowy clouds, attempting to push you away, but its attempts are in vain. It ceases its resistance and drops its head low, defeated. As its body compresses and contorts, being sucked into the charm seal, it mutters, "I wanted only to maintain the order I had worked so long to create. If the Vegvisir is shattered, my kin will be free and rampage across the plain, uncontrolled and undirected." Its head raises and looks you in the eyes, and its final breath, before its body is sucked inwards towards its face, it says, "Do what is right. Protect the Vegvisir." Shadow Lord Jotun disappears, leaving behind a smoldering mask with the visage of Jotun's face. Victory. After the party has defeated Shadow Lord Jotun, the ice that seals the crater in the center of Arvest will begin to thaw. It will take 2d10 days for the ice to thaw enough for entry into the crater. No longer sustained by Jotun, the clouds that surround the center of the island and Jotun's storm dissipate, and the ice that seals the crater begins to melt. The party and any survivors will return to the city of Arvest, regardless of if it is intact or immolated. Read or paraphrase the following. After your victory over Shadow Lord Jotun, the ice that seals the crater in the center of the island begins to thaw. It takes 2d10 days for the ice to thaw enough for entry into the crater. No longer sustained by Jotun, the clouds that surrounded the center of the island and Jotun's storm dissipate, allowing free travel to, from, and across Arvest once again. Returning to the city of Arvest, your party reconvenes with any survivors, taking a long, well-deserved rest. Once the party has completed this adventure and the ice around the crater has thawed, an ominous cackling will begin to echo across the island, calling the party back into the crater. The end. This adventure features 2 unique stat blocks, 2 unique magic items, and an auto map, many weather conditions, and normal conditions. A special thanks to all of our March patrons. The storm approaches. The newly formed crater has been obscured by a fog. A mysterious and dangerous storm has surrounded Arvest, and time is limited as the storm closes in. Will the party be able to save Arvest in time, or will they choose to condemn it? Approach the conclusion of the Tales of the Titan Mask series with this adventure. A 17 to 19 adventure for a party of 3 to 6 adventurers. An adventure for use with your favorite role-playing game. That's all we have for April 2025's adventure, Storm's Fury. We hope that you liked this adventure. If you did, you can find this and more of our content over on our website at dimenoveladventures.com and our shop. Also remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know that you liked our video. And make sure to join our growing Discord community. Thank you for tuning in. Have a great week.